Hi guys, welcome to a beer soap countertop fluid HP. What you need to have is cold flat beer, and there's no need to boil it. I am using 1% sugar in this, sodium lactate, and adding a super fat after the cook. And I cooked with 30% for the beer and then added 8% after. Okay, and then the countertop style is we're heating up the oils to 200 degrees, and once they're there, I am mixing in the lye into the beer. And you need to make sure that your beer is flat, because if there is any carbonation left, the lye will cause that to foam up and boil over the container. So it's always a good idea to mix your lye in the sink, so that way if anything does happen, any spills happen, it's going down the sink and not on you. But really, all you have to do is just mix it in until it clears, and then you're going to add it to the oils that are 200 degrees, and your beer and lye mix will be 180, 190, whatever it happens to be, and then you're just going to pour it in slowly, and you're going to just stick blend until trace. As you do not have to boil the beer. I know I guess you can if you want to, but I just prefer not to. I guess the research that I've done has said that you can actually boil out some of the good properties that you want to add to your soap. So yeah, I just make sure that the beer is really flat. I leave the beer in an open container in the fridge, and you can also pour back and forth between 2 cups to help that lose the carbonation if you want. But yeah, you do not have to boil out the alcohol, because one, it'll cook out during the cook when you're making the soap, or you can also do it cold process. Either way, it's going to cure out of the soap. So you do not need to take that time to boil the beer. So just so you know that you do not have to do that. I've been making beer soap for years, and I've never boiled the beer first. And all I'm doing here is just I'm going to stick blend to trace, and the pot is sitting on the counter. I heat up the oils in the crock pot in the base until it's 200 degrees, and then I take it out and sit it on the counter and then make the soap that way. Now, I don't want you to get confused with the stick blender method, because this is not that. You do not have to stick blend the whole time. It's just overusing the stick blender, and there's a chance of burning out the stick blender. You do not have to do it like that. So, and I don't. So this is just how I prefer to do it, and I really want you to find the way that works for you. You do not have to do it the countertop style. I just prefer doing the quicker method and just being able to get it done and and move on to other things. So, but if this is a more advanced method, so if you have not watched the beginner hot process video that I made, please go and watch that. That shows lower temperature cooking and in the base the whole time until it's done cooking. Then the crock pot comes out. So yeah, and if you've never made soap before, please watch my lye safety video. I also have a cold process beginner video, and like I said, I have the beginner hot process video too. The countertop method is more advanced, so I don't recommend that you start with this, because you are cooking with high temperature oils that are 200 degrees, and this, you want to make sure you have all your safety gear on. Just be very, very careful, and you do not want to walk away while you're doing this, because the soap does have the potential of boiling over, and I'll show you that when we get to that point. But I really like doing the countertop method because, one, you're not overcooking the soap, and it's so much faster. And, you don't have to stick blend the whole time. But I do stir a lot, which helps, spread the heat evenly throughout and helps it cook faster as well. So the only time that I stick blend here is when it gets to the applesauce stage, and that's what I recommend. I don't recommend you stick blending until it loosens up, because I don't want you to burn your stick blender out. And so, but I want you to do this however it works for you, how you feel comfortable with. Okay, but just know that stirring throughout or using a whisk really helps speed up the process as well. So you don't even have to use your stick blender. At the applesauce stage, you can just use a whisk instead. So it's completely up to you and what your preferences are. If you just use a whisk, it might take a couple more minutes, and it's a little bit more of a workout too. But it's completely up to you and how you want to do it and what you're comfortable with. If you don't have a really good stick blender, you can just whisk it when it gets to that applesauce stage. So, just do this however it works for you. Now, the beer soap, because of the sugars and everything else, this cooked really fast. And I left this first part in real time so that you can see exactly how quick this went. But this went through the stages fairly quickly too. But I do stir a lot throughout. And when you're not stirring, I recommend that you leave the lid on. I'm not the one that likes, prefers having the plastic wrap on top. I don't like fumbling with it. I don't, and just in case if it does happen to boil over, I don't want to try to fumble with that plastic wrap. So I want to make sure that I can just whip that lid off real quick and stir if I need to. So you can see here that it's starting to, break up, starting to get to that applesauce stage. And this does go, fairly quickly. Like after you stick blend to trace, you can cook it for a minute or two and stir it, and you can let it cook another minute or two and stir it. And once it gets to that part where it starts to break up and looks like applesauce, or the oil separates out. If it really separates out on you, depending on your recipe, it may. So I really recommend using the stick blender if it really completely separates out on you, because you're going to have to get that back together. And and keep in mind that every recipe cooks differently, and you may not get the certain stages you're looking for, and it may not happen as fast as you might want. But I design my recipes so that they trace faster and that they cook faster, so that they work really well with this method. And I normally use about 60% hard oils, and I like my hardness numbers to be between 40 and 45. The vegan palm-free recipes that I use were about a 45. And I keep experimenting with different recipes just to kind of see what I'm going to get for fluidity and what will work and what doesn't. So you can see here it's broken up enough where I could use the stick blender. And I didn't stick blend until it was like a crazy volcano. I just did enough to create the heat to get it moving. And then I just whisked after that. But at this point, this is where it will volcano on you, and you just never want to walk away when you're doing high temperature hot process. You want to make sure you're right there so that you can watch it. As you can see here how quickly that happens, and if you turn your back, you're going to have soap all over your counter and all over your crock pot. And if you want to, you don't have to do this on the counter. You could, if your crock pot fits in your sink, you could do that as well. Mix it up in the sink if you feel safer doing that. Just find what works for you and do it. This just happens to be the way that I like to soap, and it took me a long time of experimenting and trying to figure out what ways worked and what didn't, and I keep experimenting and trying different recipes and just seeing what'll work and what won't, and what works better than this or that. And so, but the beer soaps sell so well, and this one in particular I call the Island Brew, because I use a coconut fragrance oil and lime essential oil, and it smells so good. Yeah, the beer creates such an amazing lather and lots of bubbles. It makes such a great soap. But you can see here that I'm just continuing to stir to make sure that this is sticking together and that it's going to finish the cookout. So stirring, it has a lot of reasons why the stirring helps, because you're evenly distributing the heat and you're releasing the steam that's trapped, and you are avoiding overcooked soap. And that can happen if you don't stir and you just leave it sit. But in this method, you really have to stir and keep it moving, just to make this happen a lot faster. And like the older videos that were, you saw when they, cooked at lower heats, you know, they would leave it sit and they would let it fold over. And I know a lot of people still do it like that. That's just not how I like to do it. I like to stir to make sure that I don't end up with overcooked soap, and I want that soap cooked evenly. And it helps it speed the cook when you stir too, instead of just leaving it sit. So, but again, this is just how I like to do it, and through all the experiments and things that I've tried, this is what has worked the best for me. So I want you to find what works best for you. And I do have a lot more videos planned, and different types of soap making coming as well too. But I wanted to make sure that I got all the hot process ones done, and they will be available in my Facebook group, the Soap Making and Business Coaching. And the new recipes, some of them are listed in the group files as well. And of course, all of the beer, soap, and like all of that stuff, all of this information is in my book, The Soap Making Handbook Volume 1. And that is available on my website and Etsy, and the print copy is available on demand at lulu.com, and all of that information is here too, and below the video if you want to get the book. But here I just added the super fat, sodium lactate, and the rest of the beer. And what was interesting, I didn't want to add yogurt here, but you totally can. I just wanted to see what I would get with the, just adding the extra beer. Now there really isn't that much alcohol in the beer, so I wanted to see what I would get. But yeah, definitely if you want more fluidity, you can add yogurt to this as well. But the crazy thing is when I split it and added the zinc oxide part got crazy fluid. And so, yeah, when you're trying to make fluid hot process, there's so many things that can affect it. Different additives, fragrance oils tend to thicken it up too, which I'm wondering if why this one didn't get as fluid. But I just added in the fragrance oil and the lime essential oil, the coconut lime scent. Now this is still really hot, and for this to work and for your soap to pour nicely and to look nicely, it really needs to be done while it's hot. So don't try to let it cool down or think that you need to cool it all the way down before you add anything or try to pour, because you're going to have a heck of a time with it. So the faster that you can do this, the better and the smoother your bars are going to be. Yeah, and even if this doesn't get really fluid, the way that this is done, you still have really workable soap. It may not be, liquid pourable, and most likely it won't be. But, just depending on how you do this, it's going to be manageable. You're going to be able to at least ladle it or pour it. It's not going to be so cooked out of water that you can't do anything with it, which is why I like doing this. But if your whole intention is to be able to cook out the water, then this isn't how you want to make soap. This is just giving you a lot of the benefits um, of hot process soap making, but there is a cure time with it because you are adding more liquid to it. And definitely, if you add the alcohol after the cook, you're definitely going to want to let this cure for a while because the alcohol will be drying if it's used sooner. So there is that to think about as well. But yes, I always let my soaps cure for a few weeks before I sell. I don't ever, make hot process soaps and then sell them right away. I want my customers to have the best experience with my soaps, and I don't want them to dissolve fast in the shower, which can happen if you sell your hot process soaps right away. So yes, you can use more of a water discount, but they still need some more time to cure and become more mild, and just soap gets better with age. So yes, some of my cold process soaps I cure for 2 to 3 months before, and most of my hot process soaps are 3 to 4 weeks before I sell. Although most of them are hard at 2 weeks, but that is just my personal preference. I don't recommend selling before 2 weeks at all, and I really, for me, my personal preference is just not to sell until they're at least close to 4 weeks. Because then I know that my customers are going to get a hard bar and it's going to last in the shower. But you can see like the zinc oxide part, like crazy fluid here. So it's just really crazy how things affect fluidity and how some things are and some things aren't. And different parts of the soap will become more fluid than other parts. So just don't get frustrated with, things like that if you're trying to do the fluid hot process, because so many things affect it. Different additives, different colors, clays can thicken it. Like I mentioned, the fragrance oils can thicken it. And like I said, I didn't add yogurt here either, so it's always it's so interesting to me to see how everything works out. But now with these, I let them go in the fridge, and right after this, and then they sit in the fridge for 3-4 hours depending, and then I cut it, and then I will show you the pic here in a sec. There it is, Island Brew. Thank you so much for watching. Please join my Facebook group, and you can subscribe to my website, and please subscribe to my channel. And I'll put all my book links below too. If you'd like that, you can like my Facebook pages, Tina Moenck and Natural Suds and More. Thank you so much.